Let's do a little decimal review. When we're talking about decimals, we want to think about adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. We're also going to look at decimals in an equation. So to start, when you're adding and subtracting decimals, the first thing you have to remember is the fact that you must line up the decimals. When adding and subtracting, you must line up the decimals. The rest of the operations, you don't actually have to do that. So let's look at a problem. If we have this problem, 36.5 plus 2.45, when we line it up, you see we line it up here with the decimals aligned. Okay? Now, when we start adding, once the decimals are aligned in both addition and subtraction, it's just like normal addition, normal subtraction. One thing I do want to say is you want to make sure once you've lined up the decimals, sometimes you'll have these blank spots, like this one right here. You want to add a 0. We call that taking it to the wall. So I'm going to take this to the wall, add a 0 right there. Then I just add like normal. 0 plus 5 is 5. 5 plus 4 is 9. Bring the decimal straight down. 6 plus 2 is 8. 3 plus nothing is 3. So your answer in this case is 38.95. Once you line up the decimals and take it to the wall, you just add like normal. Same thing with subtraction. If we look at this problem, the 42.95 minus 9.6, you line it up so that the decimals are vertically aligned with each other. And then you take it to the wall. We see the blank spot. We're going to add a 0 right there. Then we start adding. Subtracting. 5 minus 0 is 5. 9 minus 6 is 3. 2 minus 9, you can't do it, so we're going to borrow from the 4. Make this a 3. 12 minus 9 is now going to give me 3. 3 minus 0 is 3. Decimal came straight down, so your answer is 33.35. Okay? Once we've lined up the decimals and bring the decimal straight down, we subtract as normal. Now, let's look at multiplication. On multiplication, you don't line up the decimals. Notice how these decimals are not lined up. Okay? You just line it up pretending that there's not even any decimals in there. One thing that helps me is I look at whichever number has the most digits. In this case, 1.23 has more digits than 5.2. I usually put the number with more digits on top. You don't have to do that. It's just something that helps me. So once you've lined it or set it up, you just multiply like normal. You pretend the decimals aren't even there. So we're going to multiply. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 1 is 2. Now I'm going to change the color because now we're going to X this problem or X that digit out, and we've got to have a placeholder for it. So now we go 5 times 3 is 15. Carry the 1. 5 times 2 is 10 plus 1 is 11. Carry the 1. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 1 is 6. Then we add. 6 plus nothing is 6. 4 plus 5 is 9. 2 plus 1 is 3. 6 plus nothing is 3. Now, the only other trick with decimals is when you're multiplying decimals is you count the number of decimal places in the problem. Notice that we've got a decimal place here. We got a 2. We got a 3. So we've got 2 decimal places in the first number and then 1 decimal place in the second number for a total of 3 decimal places. We use that number in our answer and we go from right to left. We count over 3 spaces. And I noticed that I made a mistake there. This actually should be a 6. I'm sure you guys caught that. So that should be a 6. And your answer is 6.396. Move the decimal 3 times because there are 3 decimal places in the problem. All right, it's that simple. Next, division. The thing you have to know is when you have a division problem, the first number, when written in horizontal form like this, first number always goes inside the box. It doesn't matter how big it is. You just got to know that that first number goes inside the box. So you've got 17 divided by 2.5. Now, you cannot divide by a divisor that has a decimal in it. So we got to get rid of that. And those of you that remember, it's quite simple. You just take that decimal and you move it to the back. However many times. Sometimes you have to move it once. Sometimes you have to move it twice. In this case, we only had to move it once. But whatever you do to one of the numbers, you have to do the same thing to the other. Now, you might notice 17 doesn't have a decimal. It's a whole number. So what we do in that case is we add a decimal and a 0, and we move it once. Decimal always comes straight up. So now we have 170, essentially, divided by 25. Now when we start dividing, let me change the color. 25 doesn't go into 1, so I'm going to exit out. 25 doesn't go into 17. I'm going to exit out. 25 does go into 170. I'm not sure how many times, so I'm going to come off to the side, and I'm going to guess and check. Okay, so I'm going to say 25 times what? I don't know. Let me guess 6. It helps me when you're working with 25s to think of quarters. So 25 times 6, 5 times 6 is 30. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 3 is 15. And that's as close as we're going to get. If you guess too low, guess a higher number and try it again. But in this case, I think that's what we're going to get. 6 and 6 times 25 gives us 150. So we're going to put that underneath the 170. We're going to subtract. That's going to give us 20. Now we're not done because 25 doesn't go into 20, so we've got to add a 0 and bring it down. So now we know that 25 goes into 200. I'm going to come over and guess and check on this side again, and I'll go 25. Let's try 8. 5 times 8 is 40. 8 times 2 is 16, plus 4 is 20, and that's it. So 8. 25 times 8 is going to give us 200. When we subtract, we're done. So the answer to 17 divided by 2.5 is 6.8. The biggest thing to remember is you have to move the decimal. Once you've moved the decimal on both sides, then it's just division like normal. Okay? Last problem. It's an equation problem. What I want you to remember, and you could even repeat this after me, is opposite operation. Okay? When we talk about opposite operation, we are looking at whatever is being done in the problem. In this case, we've got addition. So what's the opposite of addition? Subtraction. If it was multiplication, what's the opposite? Division. So you're going to use the opposite operation in this case to solve the problem. I'm always going to draw a line straight down when we're doing equations. That helps us balance. And we're going to look addition, so we're going to do the opposite, minus 3.5. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other side, minus 3.5. That's going to allow us to cancel the 3.5 out, because if you have a positive 3.5 and you do the opposite operation, in this case subtraction, it's going to cancel out. You're going to be left with 0, and the only thing on this side is z. So we look at the other side now, and we subtract, simply subtract 10.7 minus 3.5. 7 minus 5 is going to give us 2. 0 minus 3 can't do it. 10 minus 3 is going to give us 7. Decimal comes straight down. Z equals 7.2. That's what your problem should look like. Remember opposite operation when you're working with equations, and then you're just doing a little bit with decimals. All right, hope that helped. If you need to look at any of the problems again, just rewind the video and give yourself a little reminder. Okay, hopefully that helps.